Okay. Is there someone? Well, I haven't got very many. They've been sitting there for quite a while, so I'm like,
We're not live, but we're recording.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
We're not live, but we're recording.
Yeah, no, right.
They'll be the original.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Let me know when you're ready. Sure.
No?
Oh.
Question.
Are you not paying or just still discussing? I don't care about those.
We are set to vote. If
Oh,
have,
you are?
If you have concerns,
This hasn't been, oh, that's right. That's much, isn't it?
That's
They
okay.
told me it was already.
You can tell them
Okay. Sorry.
that. There's always
Do
the
I need
chance
to
that we
where
don't,
do-
but there's always the chance that we do. We made some changes in the January meeting, so.
Yeah,
Is that
that's all.
what's for?
So I just have.
I think that's just for
CI. I'm saying them out.
I'll recognize you.
Okay, do we have to do those every year?
Yes.
All right, I'll get it back to you. Thank you. Okay, well, these chairs are all like glued, or, I mean, attached. So I'll just sit over here.
I'd love to hear your questions.
Sorry, I can't get situated.
That's what she was wondering.
Is that yours?
Are we set?
I think so.
Okay. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. I suppose this works then? It works. All right, we're going to get started. I'll call everyone present, all five of us. The first item of business is a recommendation to send full county board a resolution blocking video entertainment streaming services on county Wi-Fi. Do we have a motion? Looks like we're going to fix the motion. Mr. Brown's going to second.
Just a second, sorry. Please.
Yeah. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you read the motion?
Cody said.
Okay.
Okay, I will lead discussion. Almost a year ago, this committee was informed of some use of the county Wi-Fi, things that are done on the Wi-Fi that might not be entirely public business based. And so we began to look into that, and during that research, we uncovered some pretty major concerns, one of which is court often experiences internet interruptions because of a bandwidth issue. The bandwidth is being taken up because the courthouse Wi-Fi is being used to live stream video entertainment services. And so on the one hand, that's not public business related. On the other hand, it's also interrupting court. And so something needs to be done about that. So that's where this originated. Is there any other discussion on that?
This won't, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
this won't interfere with like what they do at the jail, that when they can buy their time.
This will not
That
interfere with any of that. And this says that these kinds of accesses can be continued as ordered by the court or the sheriff's department. One thing that I will say is that although I ran these to legal counsel, I have not gotten feedback from yet. And so one thing that I mentioned earlier while discussing with legal counsel was the committee may approve. The committee may choose to meet again before next Thursday's board meeting in the hopes that we've heard back. Or we can take action as the committee sees fit.
And this doesn't include YouTube, just,
This does not include YouTube.
okay.
And I believe in a meeting that I had with the judge and the state's attorney and Mr. Woods and the board chairman, I specifically stated things like Zoom and Google Meet and other online virtual meeting platforms. Those don't fall under this, and YouTube will have trainings and educational things on them that might need to be accessed. So it is also not included in this. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, it says whereas YouTube, Zoom, Google Meet, and other platforms which training may be conducted or conference calls / virtual meeting services are not typically used for entertainment purposes, and those will be necessary to conduct county business and functions.
Mhm.
So it's in there and it says that we're, they're not
Okay.
getting rid of it.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have an issue. The resolution wasn't in the email that you sent with the policies, was it?
I sent you the policies, I did not send you the resolutions.
Is it okay if I take a look, just out of curiosity?
I have no problem with that, no.
I'm not objecting to anything, I didn't see that, thank you.
In those meetings that I referenced, your department's needs were communicated.
They were addressed, I believe, separately, and I'm not concerned with that. I just hadn't seen this, and I'd just like to take a look at that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Second order of business, recommendation to send to full county board resolution to separate Wi-Fi services, public and courthouse / network. Do we have a motion? Mr. McCormick makes the motion, and Mr. Burns makes the second. Let me know when you're caught up.
He made the motion and Cody seconded, correct? Okay.
So one of the key points to this was the resident circuit judge has an emergency preparedness plan. And in the event that the Wi-Fi should fail, which I think she may mention it did for a time there would be a backup. This secondary Wi-Fi would be a backup, and so this would allow for a failover, a backup, a secondary Wi-Fi to be used.
Now, this doesn't include the whole courthouse, it's just the mentioned departments in there. Or is it the whole courthouse?
Dave, this is a secondary Wi-Fi for the whole courthouse, correct?
It'll provide failover for the entire courthouse and the sheriff's office in the event the consolidated goes down. It's an automatic failover, so that you'll still have internet access, still have Zoom, you'll still have your phones.
Does that failover occur automatically?
Yes.
So if you lose one, the other one just simply automatically
Maybe
picks up and takes
maybe
over?
a 15 to 20 second pause while it reconfigures, but then
Okay.
when the original service comes back online, it switches back. Because the original will be higher than
And that switch back will also be automatic,
automatic.
probably a 15 or 20 second delay?
Yeah, most people don't even notice the
Yeah.
pause.
Okay, thank you.
And you said the entire courthouse and the sheriff's department, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Next item of business, the county records policy. Before we entertain a motion, I had some communication with the clerk. She had some concerns that we may want to, that may motivate us to make some changes. In her email, the clerk did state she's not going to keep documents that should be in the care and control of another elected official or office head. And so she seemed to indicate that the policy was rather open-ended. And so if we want to do something to narrow this down, then we need to make amendments. I will say, first of all, and I had said this in January, I believe, the clerk's office no longer keeps records on mobile home files. I believe, was that when there was a law changed in the middle of the year last year that changed that, or was that?
That was a notary public.
That's right, that was a notary. So, if no one has any objections, I'm going to strike the phrase mobile home files, because she doesn't keep those. Cody?
If this isn't ready to go, I think we just table this until next month.
Okay, do we want to work on
We can work on it.
Okay.
I wouldn't push it forward until we actually
it?
are 100%.
I agree, that's fine.
Well, I have a question, because that first paragraph about no documents will be destroyed unless approved by the state of, by Illinois state law. I mean, that statute's out there, right? So is this redundancy? And, I mean, I would think that we all would expect the statutes to be followed. So is this just a redundancy?
I would say yes, that it is a redundancy. I think it's okay to say it. I think it's okay to take it out. If it's redundant, that coming with that means it's unnecessary.
So I'm kind of with Cody. I think once we have the audit completed and the findings there, that there are most likely going to be things that are going to pertain to the centralization of record keeping, and I think waiting until we have those findings, instead of doing it now and then changing it later, just waiting for that and addressing it all at the same time would seem to make more sense to me.
Okay, so I think we just want to take no action and move on.
Okay.
Is that,
I think
anybody have
that's
a problem with that?
Yep.
Okay, I will leave that mobile home phrase in there then, but in the end, I think we're gonna wind up taking it out, so. Okay, moving on, discussion and vote on county timekeeping policy. I do not remember what we did. I do not remember what we discussed in January on that.
There was some language in here in regards to, like the use of department heads or elected officials that I thought could be cleaned up and more consistent, because it said, like, for example, the 4th paragraph down, which is just one sentence, but it says all elected officials and department heads. Well, you're also going to have some people in a supervisory type position that might need to submit time cards that might be appointed.
Like appointed department heads?
Well, I think it could be, I don't know the exact language, but elected officials or elected and or appointed department heads. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just think we're not addressing appointed anywhere in here, and I think that...
Isn't anybody that's appointed, aren't they department heads? I mean, is there anybody that's appointed that wouldn't be a department head?
I don't know.
Perhaps we should just say elected / appointed officials and department heads. Would that cover it?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Well, and the other thing is all elected officials and department heads will approve payroll. Well, technically, we're elected officials, so we're approving all payroll. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the department head, whether elected or appointed or acting, I mean, we had an acting highway engineer that approved payroll out there at one point.
Would we want to say all department heads?
Yeah, I don't know that you need elected officials in there,
Okay.
because not every elected official is a department head.
All department heads appointed, elected, or...
I would say we'll approve payroll for their department.
I wouldn't use the word all, would you? Just department heads will approve payroll?
Yeah. Department heads will approve payroll for their department.
Okay. Department heads will approve payroll for their department before sending to treasurer.
See, and the sentence above that, I don't like either, because it's not specifying, you know, to me, that sentence should maybe be included in the sentence below it. All department, well, where it says all hours worked and PTO, paid time off, will be sent to the treasurer for those weeks of payroll. I mean, you read that, if you're not a department head, you may read that you can just send your own sheets, your own time to the treasurer, where everything should come through the department head. Right?
So are you making a motion to amend it?
No, we're not, I mean, at this point, we haven't,
No,
we're just tweaking.
yeah.
I think he's tweaking as we discussed. So I would say that third sentence could basically be taken out, and department heads will approve payroll to include hours worked and paid time off.
You want that included in the current paragraph 4 as the second sentence? Or do we sentence 3?
I think sentence 3 can be struck.
Okay. And how do you want it to?
But you're gonna do an addition to what's currently the number 4.
Mhm.
Because right now you have department heads will approve payroll, right?
Mhm.
And I would put approve payroll to include hours worked and paid time off.
Oh, I see, just
See what I'm
an
saying?
extra phrase.
Yeah, you're just basically combining those two. But all payroll should come through the department head.
So with that 4th paragraph read, department heads will approve payroll and PTO paid time off for their department before sending to treasurer. Is that what you had in mind?
I would say approve payroll to include hours worked and PTO.
Okay. And then strike sentence 3.
That's just my suggestion. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
That's fine.
I think on sentence 2, where it says hourly employees will clock in and out at the time designated by union contract or hours directed by their, I don't think we need elected official or, I think we just need their department head.
Everybody okay with striking that phrase?
Where was that at?
That's in paragraph 2, just striking elected official or.
Yeah.
Because we've already said in there that department heads are the one that turn in the time sheet.
Yeah,
When,
this is just trying to make
speaking
it-
of department heads, did you send this out to department heads? Or is because it's a draft you haven't?
No, I believe after the December legislative meeting, these policies, timekeeping, records, and fuel, went to all department heads.
Okay, so they had an opportunity to give feedback. Okay.
So in number 5, we can get rid of elected official as well, right? After the number 4, where you just modified it, all-time changes after approval. County email.
Right, yes, I think you're right.
Delete elected official or.
No,
It was, we took, don't remember, right?
I really don't think elected official should be in here.
Okay.
Why don't we just strike elected official everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would put all time changes after initial approval by the department head. Will be directed to the treasurer by county email from said department head. And then we can take out from that area. Or we could put from that department head.
All time changes after. And all time changes after initial approval by the department head will be directed to treasurer by county email from department head. Hourly employees' emails or phone calls will not be accepted for changes.
I think you could change that to direct communication from an hourly employee to the treasurer. We'll just say will not be accepted as an official request to change the time. Something along those lines. You're just establishing it needs to go back through the department head for approval.
communication from an hourly employee to treasurer will not be accepted as an official request to change log. Is log acceptable?
Do you guys have an issue with law? No concerns here.
Okay. So it would have been paragraph 6, it's now paragraph 5. If there is no department head or elected official, I want to remove elected official there too. I removed it somewhere else down the line too.
And if you want to stay consistent, you've capitalized the department head everywhere else.
Yeah.
I think I would say if there is a vacancy in a department head position,
Is it in the paragraph or?
I know, on that same paragraph, I'd just say, where it says if there is no department head, I would put if there is a vacancy in a department head position.
We have to think about how we word that, because there are some departments that have a deputy for like when the department head is on vacation or out for whatever, and they're acting in that role. So, I mean, I guess that would make them a department head, but I don't want to just say, well, if your department head's gone, it goes to the treasurer, because that's not the way it works. They have a deputy that handles their.
I wanted clarification on that one too. That was one I was just gonna have a question about. I mean, that was one, and she hit my point kind of as to what I was gonna be asking about that one.
Okay.
So maybe back up in what's now 3, I think, where it says department heads will approve payroll. Maybe we say department heads or
designee.
Something like, or designee
Because that's my issue with
in
that.
department head absence.
With that specific one, that is if I am not there, the chief judge will have a designee to take care of my duties. Could be the sitting judge, could be a circuit judge, but there will be a designee. And that's what I was asking, was clarification. Who are my officers asking for time off? To me, it should not be human resources. They're requesting time off for things. They need to be asking the designee, which would be the judge, who could then give it to HR, treasurer. I just want a clarification there.
Yeah, I had or designee.
Brian, are you good with that if you're out on vacation or something along those lines as the department head, if it were to say then or designee?
Yes.
You think that?
Yeah, I just know that, sometimes that's why they have deputy, whatever their position is, because they fill in when they're not, when the department head or the elected official, whatever, is out.
The way it reads now, it just reads where it could be interpreted like you have to go to the HR or the treasurer to get time off. No, you need to go to your designee or your.
Yeah, that needs to stay within the department.
It's simple. That's all I'm looking at.
Anything else?
So we added that to sentence 3 up top as well, right?
Yeah, or designee. Was there another place it was supposed to go?
So then we're back down to the sentence that says if there is no department head.
I think we ought to just take that whole sentence out. We've clarified throughout the body of the resolution that who they are to go to. So that, I think, needs to just come out.
Whole sentence. You good with that?
I'm okay with that.
Cody? Okay.
I have a question from the beginning. You guys got past it before I could ask, and I apologize. I'm not trying to be a pain. But could you just explain what the intent is behind the very first paragraph, where it says prior timekeeping anywhere will not be accepted? So I don't have the ability to enter certain time. It has, so I turn it into them on my paper. And then I work with that office and they enter it for me appropriately, and then I can prove it. But I can't enter it. I don't have certain authorities to enter certain stuff. I can change things. But so what does that mean, prior timekeeping anyway? What's the intent?
So I think the point behind that was prior systems used, like timesheets, wouldn't be acceptable after we have fully phased in the electronic timekeeping. Now, I believe that process has been concluded.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that first paragraph and then the last paragraph. I mean, we're making a policy. This kind of reads like a letter.
Yeah.
And I feel like that first paragraph could probably be struck, because a policy is what you look at on how you're going to run the department.
Yeah.
And that first paragraph and also the last paragraph really don't have anything to do with the expectation we have of the employee.
This policy was written in December or January.
Sure.
And so some of that first paragraph is outdated and could probably
Yeah,
just be
and now
straightened.
we're well into March, so all that, it just switched to timekeeping and,
I agree with you, with the first and last can be,
The whole paragraph?
I think so.
I mean, the best way to write a policy is to keep it short and simple, and
Yeah.
extra words don't do anybody any good.
Agreed. Cody, your thoughts? Agreed.
That's fine.
I will strike.
And that last thing about question too.
Yeah, that, so the last paragraph, what are you considering the last paragraph there?
We appreciate everyone's cooperation with the important change. Like,
Well, like I said, start
I'm thinking
moving.
with the moving.
Yeah, moving to electronic timekeeping.
oh, sorry, last two, okay.
Yeah, so from moving on down to the end of the document could be stricken.
I believe so.
Jeremy, are you under the understanding that we're fully phased in and using the new timekeeping system?
I was gonna ask how it's going for you.
My understanding is we're still doing both. We're doing it just like we always did it. We're trying to reconcile it with the time clock. It takes twice as long. And I was told that we're going to probably be doing these paper copies for,
That's my understanding
because
as well.
this thing can't figure time and pay correctly.
Okay. Is it better than it was when we spoke in December or January?
Oh, there might be a few things, but like I said, it cannot figure out payroll correctly. We have to manually do it.
Okay.
Are they working on correcting that?
Are you working on corrected? You're,
My understanding is the items that it can't do now, the system can't do.
okay.
Are they standard items? I mean,
Holidays are one that it can't figure correctly. Sometimes it figures overtime correctly, sometimes it doesn't. We have shift differential problems.
that sounds like standard payroll stuff.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I mean, that sounds like standard payroll.
Right.
Have you been in contact with the CIC company
Have
about?
I? No.
Okay.
I don't know that I don't think that's probably up to the department head to do.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah, talk to the treasurer.
Is there a point of contact? Next again.
I'm sure the treasurer would probably know it.
From the county to CIC or vice versa?
And I think that comes to your very last point on here about the time and having them by noon. I understand wanting to get it in timely, that's, the payroll's huge, I couldn't imagine doing it, I wouldn't want to do that in my office. But having it by noon, when you're not completing a work week till, was it Saturday or Sunday, with 30-some, 40-some employees, for me, it's a...
We can't comply with that. We can't have ours in at noon. We're lucky to get ours in by 4 o'clock. And sometimes it'll go in the next day. If I brought my staff in on Sunday to work, they could have it in probably by noon, but.
So, we're talking about the end of a pay period being the end of Sunday and starting on Monday.
Right.
At midnight on Monday morning. So,
And we're reconciling up to like 35 employees with shift differentials, and they can't get it done.
And so then payday from that pay period is what day that week, that following week?
Friday.
Friday. So, and the treasurer has to have that in order to get the employees paid on time by when? Do we know?
I think the direct deposit notices come out Wednesday. So I don't know, that's when we get our direct deposit notice. Money does not enter our accounts until Friday. But we're
So-
getting our notices on Wednesday in my office.
So she probably has to have it to the bank sometime on Tuesday?
I can't answer that. I'm just telling you for time, I know when we get our direct deposit is Wednesday.
Do we want to amend that time?
Not until we've talked to find out
To
the
treasurer?
exact
Okay.
time.
Okay. So what I will probably do then is reach out to the treasurer, get word from her. Is the committee okay if I make a change to this and bring that change to the board
Uh-huh.
pending her response?
Sure. Well, I mean, I just don't think it's ready right now. We have too many questions to move it forward right now. Anyway.
Okay, so then I won't make a change, I'll just reach out and we'll not take this to the board next Thursday, is that what we're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Sheriff McReynolds, was a lot of this the stuff that we talked about with me, you, and Annette?
And a lot of it's still a problem, but
I'll check in on that. I haven't heard anything, so I figured I would have heard a complaint.
the holidays are not figuring correctly, so.
Cody, let us know what you find, because those do seem like very simple things. It ought to be easy to get right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a standard payroll, overtime, holiday pay, that stuff comes up. That's regular. That's every pay period. It ought to be able to do that right. Any other changes we want to make right now? I will save this and this version will become the new draft. And it is still a draft.
Would you send that out to the committee sooner rather than later, just for
Yes.
additional review, please?
Yes.
I also reached out to a couple of counties in the Fourth Circuit just to ask them to see their timekeeping policies that they use for their county employees, because I know it doesn't necessarily apply to the officers per se, because we're employed by someone else. And I have them for you, I'll be happy. I didn't get them till this morning, so, and then I was out in my, this afternoon, so.
If you want to send them over, that'd be great.
I've got copies, I'll just give them to you.
Okay.
Or I can email them if you prefer to get them that way.
Yeah, if you
Be awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you anything. You may not want any of it, but any language I figured from any other county, but they don't have time clocks,
Mhm.
but it might help with some of the wording.
Okay. Thank you. Are we ready to move on to the fuel policy? Okay. Fuel policy. I believe we made several changes to this policy in January. Do we?
So I think that's why, this one didn't seem to me like it was the most recent, because on that third paragraph where we were talking about for purchases made with personal credit card for reimbursement,
Mhm.
if you are using your personal credit card to put in your personal vehicle, then you're normally not being reimbursed for the gas. You're usually charging mileage when you're using your personal vehicle. That's why I didn't think this looked like, this just didn't read right to me like it was the most updated version.
Yeah, we pay mileage, we don't reimburse for
Yeah.
gas.
Yeah.
I'll take
Which
both.
What's that?
I'll take both, but mileage.
Hey, mileage just went up to 67 cents, so there you go.
If I remember right, this was in case someone used a personal card to fill the county vehicle. Because I think that's why we separated out the second paragraph and the first, because that was one paragraph, and in January we separated that out and changed some things. And I think that might have been the reason why.
Okay.
actually really happen, because they can just check out a county credit card from the treasurer's
Yeah, but
office.
things happen, this way
Things
it's
happen.
covered.
You know,
Okay.
does that make sense to you?
I just think we might want to clarify then, for purchases made with a personal credit card to fuel a county-owned vehicle. Or with a, or maybe you can say, sorry, with a personal credit card for reimbursement, or with a county credit card received for fueling of a county-owned vehicle. Just to clarify that that's what that particular, because otherwise they're going to be turning in mileage.
Okay. For purchases made with a personal credit card for reimbursement or with a county credit card receipt. And that's where I put that, to fuel a county-owned vehicle.
Does that make sense to you guys,
Mhm.
to clarify?
Okay. That was also when we put the bit about gas in there, being okay for generators, watercraft, small engines. Are there any other changes we need to make? Are we ready to move with this? What do you think?
Good with it.
Does this suit the needs by both departments?
We turn in mileage, we don't have a county vehicle, so.
Does this suit your needs, Mr. Sheriff?
I haven't seen the current copy, but last time you had there's not last four of the VIN or nothing's on there correctly.
Your make, model, last four digits of the VIN. That's not necessary, you said, for the WEX cards, because the WEX card I didn't.
Wex card or at the highway department, we're putting in a PIN number plus the plate number of the vehicle. There's no place to put in the 4 digits of the VIN.
The only time we're asking, I think, for the 4 digits of the VIN is if it's a personal, or a personal credit card, isn't it?
I think that's, Brian, if you take if somebody takes a county-owned vehicle, say to a training or a seminar or something, and you're in Joliet and you need to refuel there, obviously you're not fueling at the highway department where it is, you're punching in your PIN, and maybe it's an employee that doesn't have their own WEX card, so they're using the credit card that's checked out of the treasurer's department, then that receipt should show that, so that the way this
That
paragraph.
would be very rare for us. We have a Wex card for,
Yes, so you use the WEX card.
Out there at the highway department, you're not using any card, it's already paid.
no, we're just, yeah.
So this is when you're using a card, either a county card or your personal card to fuel up a county-owned vehicle.
Not pertaining to WEX cards.
Right, not paying West cards. So yeah, that part would almost never affect your office, that would be pretty rare.
I would just go through this situation. It's got sentences about it. I mean, it doesn't change the language, but there's stuff without sentences.
Who else has county vehicles? I'm just curious.
What's that?
Who else has county vehicles?
Well, the
Animal control,
Okay. I get it.
highway department.
EMA?
Don't they?
EMA corner,
I'm
Yeah,
just trying to reconcile it all in my mind. Who would
Corner?
possibly do it?
I think mainly it's just for like if they go out of town for a reason and can't use local, I mean, obviously we want them to use fuel that we've already purchased locally. But there's times when they're gonna be out of town and stuff that they can't, so I
Okay.
think this addresses that.
I was just curious, thank you.
I just ran through real quick for punctuation, there were places that didn't have periods, so. Any other edits or suggestions? Do we want to make a motion to move forward with this next Thursday?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. McCormick makes the motion, was that a second down there, Cody?
Yep.
Mr. Burns makes the second.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Okay, let's go to the approval of the January 2nd. Yeah, that's the January 2nd, 23.
Did we get those in an email?
Yes. So, do we want to wait to approve the minutes until April?
Are you saying we can't just update the 3 to a 4? I think anybody that would have read the agenda would have understood that what the intent was there.
I didn't even, wasn't paying attention, I just automatically
Obviously,
read
I
it
wasn't
as
either.
24.
I mean, that happened the first couple of months of the year. I would,
I mean, we can approve them now, and if there's an issue, we can reapprove them again. And
Okay.
actually, can we make a motion to
to
amend?
amend,
Wanna
oh,
make a motion
but
to
it's on
amend?
the agenda
It's
as,
on the agenda as, you know,
Do it next month.
this is-
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
get it together, Jeremy.
I'm sorry.
I usually send this after the meeting, so they wouldn't have come out in the,
Yeah.
we need to start reading that to them.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, I've got them there, I've got to pull up.
I'm just saying, when we send out the read-ahead materials, is it on the, like it wasn't on the read-ahead materials? Because I usually send, like, I'll usually send them tonight.
Mhm.
The draft or the review, I think, for the read-ahead, having them might be helpful.
Okay, in that case, we're ready for public comment. Well, open the floor for public comment.
I actually do. I don't know if this is like the regular county board meeting, but I'm Elizabeth Reagan, and I'm an employee here, and I'm also a taxpayer. And I just want to know, what is wrong with our current payroll policy? Because we already have one in place, so what is wrong with it? Anybody?
Can you speak to something specific, like what you might be referring to? I'm not 100% sure what you mean.
Well, I mean, do you know what our current payroll policy is?
I'm wondering if it doesn't, because the current one doesn't include the electronic timekeeping.
Okay,
Maybe, I mean, that could be one
that
issue.
comes to my second question. So what constitutes a salary employee? How do you designate who uses the time clock and who doesn't?
Your elected officials are salaried employees. They don't
I
get paid on an
understand.
hourly rate.
But there's other employees in this building that are not, and they don't use the time clock, and that's what I'm asking. How do you constitute a salary employee?
I think aren't positions, salaried positions?
The union
I mean-
contract probably had a lot to do with that.
And a salaried employee, in my experience, has never clocked in and out. I don't know why they
But who
would.
would be considered a salary employee?
think
Somebody
that's-
whose salary is negotiated upon, at the time of hire rather than hourly. They're paid, and their salary
So they
is-
would have a separate contract?
Well, it depends on, I mean, some of them may not even be contracted employees.
Okay,
But usually a salaried employee is based on an annual wage, whereas hourly employees are paid, since they're paid by the hour, that's why their time is recorded hourly.
okay. So then all of you then were okay with paying a salaried employee a paycheck that didn't show up to work for 8 weeks? That was okay because they were salaried?
Not having that discussion.
I mean, the first meeting I ever attended, Mr. Brands, you stated that you wanted to save the taxpayers money. And I just don't seem like that seemed like a very money-saving situation. It actually seems like we're losing because we had to hire more attorneys for that office. I just think there's a lot of things that have been said that are kind of unfair to the other employees in this county. Mr. Williams, you stated that there had been an employee seen driving down Main Street while saying they were at work. Were you following them?
No.
Did you ask them if they were doing anything that was pertaining to county business? Yes or no?
What was that last one?
Did you ask them if they were doing anything that was pertaining to county business? Because if you didn't, then you insinuated that they were doing something wrong and there was no facts to back that up. And you said we needed our picture taken because we may clock in for one another. Does that happen where you work? Do you have a time clock that takes your picture when you clock in and out at your job? Because I've been in the workforce since I was 15 years old and I have never seen anyone do that, ever, any place I've ever worked. And we've heard over and over again about payroll fraud in one way or another. And Ms. Edwards, you've commented on it more than once. And obviously, you're not going to give any thoughts to what you think about paying our assistant state's attorney.
My thought is, we need to talk to the department head. I
So do you consider that payroll fraud?
That's a question for the department head.
I mean, but you're the legislative committee. So I'm asking you, do you consider that payroll fraud? You're writing a
I can't answer that
timekeeping
without knowing
policy.
details.
But you're writing a timekeeping policy for all the employees for this county. So that's why I'm asking you.
I believe there should be a timekeeping policy for the county.
Okay. I mean, my point is, you can't make rules that just apply to a few employees, because that's discrimination. Whether it be because they're union or hired by somebody who may or may not agree with you politically or otherwise. A paycheck from the county is a paycheck from the county. Elected officials or hired office heads by the board or the judge are an exception, and I do understand that. But if that person hires someone, they're the same as any other hired employee in this building or in this county. And the serious issues that we have here in our county are not going to be fixed over an overpriced time clock. And ignoring the union and pretending a contract doesn't exist will not make it go away. And the failure to see the error in your ways are going to continue to cost the taxpayers money as well as the integrity of our entire county. Thank you.
I just have one question. What did you say? I said, I didn't catch.
You said at that first meeting,
What first meeting? I'm sorry, I'm not.
the very first legislative meeting that I attended that you were, and it's been, I don't know when's the first meeting you were at after you were elected, you said you wanted to save the taxpayers money. That's what you said. That's
Okay.
why I asked what you thought about that. That's why I was just trying to get your opinion, because you said you wanted to save us money. I would like to save us money too.
About,
But I don't think that paying somebody that didn't come to work for 8 weeks while they were practicing law in another courthouse, being paid privately, is saving us money. And I don't,
that's the first I'm hearing of it.
okay, that's fine, that's fine.
Good job, Liz.
Public comment.
Jeremy, I don't know what to think about you. I don't think much of you, that's for sure. I don't think you care what my opinion of you is. But my opinion of you is you very often don't know what you're talking about. You can't tell us we can't farm. You don't know anything about time clocks. I go to all these offices in the courthouse, okay? I go to other places all over the county to find out what's going on. These time clocks were a joke. To begin with, we bought ones we didn't need. And we paid more money than we needed to pay for them because we couldn't use that time to know when it proved of it happening. I don't know what in the world, you don't care if we lose, you don't care if the state's attorney spends $148,000 extra for his budget, and you guys are talking about nickels and dimes and pennies. We didn't get a grant for the highway department for 3 years because of some joker scared him off. So the previous 3 years, we got $3 million. You're talking about we may have lost $3 million, and you're talking about nothing. So I want to know what you people think. Do you think that Teresa Bing belongs in prison for being on a cemetery board? Tell her if you think she does. Tell her right now. I don't think she does. So that's what this piece of crap down here that you guys are so fond of is trying to do. Trying to put her in prison. He said Debbie Dunaway scared for a year. She had one nervous breakdown, her hair was falling out. She was scared to death because of this guy. What did she do wrong? Did she commit any criminal intent? Did Debbie Dunaway have any criminal intent? If you go to criminal court, someone has to have a criminal intent. Do you think you can prove it? Do you think you can stop this from farming? Of course you're not. Of course you can't. Neither can Kirk Allen. No one stopped anyone. There's 24 counties farming. You can't stop them. You can't stop Ford County. You can't stop us. It's all a bunch of bullshit stories from one end or the other, and I'm sick of it. That's all it is. Tell me, do you think she belongs in prison? Any of it. Do you think she belongs in prison? Cody, you and Sonny picked up the wrong truck. I just had it on Facebook where we ordered the truck we were supposed to have. That wasn't good enough for you because this somebody, I don't know who, somebody told you to buy something else. So then, that makes the county look bad. So then we ordered a topper for the truck, but we won't pay for it because we got the wrong truck and it probably won't fit it. So now he can't get one for 6 months. Everything was fine, and now all you guys want to do is screw up everything you touch. I mean, this is just pitiful. You're embarrassing me, you're embarrassing the whole county. If I go in a restaurant, if I go in a grocery store, anywhere I go, what's wrong with Sonny and Ross, and what's wrong with you, and what's wrong with the county board? So you can take it or leave it. I don't care if you know what I think of it. That's what I think of it. How you could do that, Teresa Bain, I don't have any idea. I don't know how anyone in Shelby County could say she belongs in prison for 1 to 5 years and a $25,000 fine for doing something she didn't know she was supposed to do. Debbie Dunaway did nothing wrong. No one in that office did anything wrong, but your buddy, every one of your buddy, had to take them all to a grand jury and then give part of them immunity so they could testify against her, he thought. So then we were supposed to have people from 3 different districts on this board. That wasn't right. That wasn't done wrong. So is everything Debbie did in the last few months, is it wrong because it was signed by people that weren't qualified to be there? What's Debbie supposed to do in the future? She doesn't have any idea. Who does she ask? She can't go ask Hannah because we already know what his opinion is. You're following this guy. You guys are following this guy around. You don't want to listen to us. You don't want to talk to anyone that makes sense. You want to listen to him. Good. That's my opinion on all of you. I don't have any respect for any of it.
Public comment.
I take it that all of you must think I'm guilty because nobody would speak up for me, but that's all right. I can handle this myself. Thanks, guys. But I do have questions.
Tricia, I had a phone conversation with you.
I know that we've had, did you speak up to Jake and say anything? Have you spoke up to anybody in
Would you like to see
public?
the text message I sent Jake? I'll show it to you after.
Have you spoke up for me, Julie? I'm not getting into it with you.
But you brought it up.
Go to Debbie's office tomorrow.
Wait a minute, Jake, it's my turn. My turn. This agenda that you printed out for tonight's meeting is the same agenda virtually for the last 3 months. Do you guys think you have to have a meeting every month just to have a meeting, but you get nothing accomplished because you put it on the next month's agenda? I think this makes us look really bad. Can't you guys communicate between each other so that when you come into a meeting, you have something that you know you're going to agree on and talk about? And if you've ever been to a city council meeting, and I know Martha knows what I'm talking about because I've been to those meetings. I know you can't have a group meeting because of the rules, but you can communicate between each other. And you can sit there and smile at me all you want, but I'm not stupid. And you guys could communicate with each other and not look like this, because it's being out there for the people to see and on Facebook Live for people to see. People are laughing at us over the way that this is conducted. I sat up here in this courtroom last Thursday afternoon after sitting down in the hallway and watching the grand jury go at it again. And I don't know if you've read it, but you couldn't do to the Board of Review what you wanted to do. It's not constitutional, what you guys wanted to do. You talk about following the rules and following the Constitution and doing things legal. I've listened to her answer back here and just say, just do things legal. Well, do things legal, guys. Listen to people. If you're waiting for that man to give you an opinion about something, you're not going to get one. I mean, I sat back here and laughed because you said that you sent him things and he hasn't given you. You guys hired him. You guys can get rid of him just as easy. I didn't vote for him. I didn't have anything to do with him being here. But it's scary what's happening to this county. And Martha, you can sit there and look at the floor, but it's wrong what's happening to this county. It's wrong. And if you guys don't straighten up, it's not going to get any better. It's not. And people are really getting tired of it. People are starting to listen. I thought for a long time they aren't even paying any attention. People are paying attention to what's going on around here. And I think some of us might find out in a couple weeks how much they've paid attention.
I'm just gonna make a comment to my time on city council. I was on city council, and one of my biggest frustrations was that there was one-on-one conversations being had behind the scenes. They'd come to the meeting, it'd be a 15-minute meeting because everybody knew how everybody voted, and the business of the people was not done in front of the people. It is not our job to have all the discussions done outside of here, outside of the public, outside of the camera, come in here and just simply vote and move on down the road. That is not being transparent and open and in front of our constituents. So I don't agree with the way that city council handled it. I don't think 15-minute meetings is appropriate, and I do think the discussions should be had in public, in open meetings. That's my opinion. You're entitled to yours. I'm entitled to mine. I'm just telling you. You mentioned me, and you said that I know how city council works, and I'm telling you I do, and it was incredibly frustrating because I didn't get to hear the questions that my fellow city council members might have asked the mayor. He'd call me, ask me what I thought, how I was going to vote, and I'd say, Jeff, that discussion needs to be had in the public because one of my fellow council members might have a question that I didn't think of, and I would like to hear their questions and hear their answers. So no, I don't think we should be having one-on-one conversations and have everything planned, ready to go, buttoned up before we get here.
Maybe you should go to a city council meeting.
Jay, you have the floor.
So, I have a question. So, each of you guys sitting here, do you get paid per meeting that you guys attend like these? Like, you guys are getting paid for each meeting, right? So, we're on month 4 of a legislative meeting. So, you've got paid the last 4 months to talk about the same exact thing on the agenda for the last 4 months. And every item on the agenda for the last 4 months has not been accomplished anything. And it just gets tabled, or we're not ready to proceed. So, we paid you now, this will be the 4th meeting, to go over the same stuff, and we get to accomplish one thing. So what are we paying you guys to do on this committee then?
I don't turn my committee stuff in, but I think it's important that we go over it as many times as we need to till we get it right.
Yeah, I will speak to that one. This committee did not meet in February, and this committee did not meet in November of last year. Those are the 2 most recent months that I recall that we didn't meet. I think.
But still, we have 4 of the previous, well, 3 previous agendas with today's that all had the same agenda items on it, and we haven't accomplished nothing in them. But yet, we're paying you guys to keep doing these meetings to get nowhere, but then, like Martha stated, you don't want to talk about it outside of these meetings because that's not the thing to do. But at what point do you discuss it in your meetings and move forward to get rid of something off the agenda? Why do we keep constantly,
Beating a dead horse.
Exactly.
This committee finds it necessary to write policy, discuss policy, amend policy, and then sometimes step back for a month and come back and revisit so that we get it right. If the board passes a policy that legislative sends and then later the policy needs amended, that, I mean, we can do that, that's fine, that's an option, but I'd rather get it right the first time. And if we have to wait a couple of months and hash and rehash and discuss more to get it right the first time,
But 6 months? I mean, you said you didn't meet in 2 months, and we have, this is the fourth, it'd be 6 months, and we're still talking about the same exact topics on the agenda 6 months later? That doesn't seem right. Does the other committees do that? Not any that I've attended.
I don't think the other committees deal with creating things like this committee does. Like we create, the legislative committee is designed to create policy, and review sometimes new information. So that may be why it takes a little longer. Some of the other committees are reviewing. I can't, my ears are plugged, so I can't tell how loud I'm talking, so if I'm yelling, that's why. They are reviewing information that's already there, where this committee is designed to create things. So that may be one of the reasons why things take a little longer.
I get that, but every item, it doesn't,
I agree.
it's just, it's frustrating.
I agree
It's
with-
frustrating to the people that are paying you guys to constantly do these meetings and talk about the same exact thing every meeting. We make no progress at any of these meetings, none.
public comment.
Yes, I'd like to comment about we don't talk to each other outside the meetings, we want to do it in public. One of the FOIAs I sent was about a meeting that occurred at a fire station. And it may not have been a legal meeting because maybe enough board members weren't there to make it a quorum. But I didn't know that because I was told there was a meeting. And so, to discuss ARPA funds. And that is, ARPA funds is public business, correct, Jerry? Yes. So if I were to send a FOIA about ARPA funds, that would be reasonable, wouldn't it? Yes?
Yes.
I thought so. There's been other meetings that I have heard about and thought, oh, it's a public meeting, and I know we went to one, somebody went up to the door and said, oh, you can't come in here, this is a closed meeting, and it was in a public building. And so...
Can you be specific?
What's that?
Can you be specific, just so we know?
What building? It was actually, I think it was brought up at last month's board meeting, it was about the insurance, and it was at the zoning office. And maybe there's stuff that was talked about that we shouldn't hear, I totally understand that. But when you're hearing about these meetings going on and then you say, oh yeah, there actually is one, but you can't come in there, but there's no agenda, it confuses people. You know, if you're thinking people are having meetings out of the purview of the public, then it's confusing because it's not, you know, we're wondering, okay, there's these board members going into here, I heard there's a meeting, but no, I can't come in. Why is that? I would like to...
What public
I
body
can
was
speak
meeting?
to that. It wasn't
What's
a
that?
public body meeting. I can speak to that if you'd like me to answer. Would you like me to answer that question?
Well, I would like to finish my comment and then...
Okay, I'll come back to it.
Go ahead. Yep.
So, you know, if I hear there's a meeting and then I'm seeing people going in and then somebody goes up and says, no, we can't come in, but there's no agenda and there's no nothing, and it's a public building, I don't think legally you could tell someone they can't come into a public building because it's open to the entire public. If you're going to do that, it's not that I have problems with a couple board members trying to iron stuff out because it's not a quorum. It's how I'm finding out about these things. I'm not understanding until after the fact that it wasn't a public body meeting. But if you're going to have these meetings, it shouldn't be in a public building and then tell people they can't come into the public building. You know, the zoning office, I should be able to walk into any time of business hours, correct? If it's open, I should be able to walk in, correct?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you're telling someone, no, you can't come in, then why aren't you moving this meeting to somebody's private office and having this discussion
Because if you're not a quorum, then you're not violating. But to sit here and say that we don't discuss things outside of here, we want to do it all in public, is simply not true. Because I would have never found out about the ARPA funds in the discussion at the other meeting, where I don't know how many board members were present. 3 maybe? I don't know. But, so when you're finding those things out in the public, it's very confusing as to what's going on, what's happening, and why are ARPA funds being discussed, but yet I shouldn't be able to send a FOIA to find out about the ARPA funds. That, you know, I did send the FOIA. Some people replied, some people didn't. And so I don't understand when you're sitting there saying that we don't discuss stuff out, we want to discuss stuff in the building, that's in front of the public. That's not quite correct, not quite. You do have conversations with each other. There's no question.
If that meeting were to be held in someone's private office, wouldn't that look even worse?
I can't hear you, can you?
We don't have private offices.
Well, that's true, board members don't have private offices, but if that meeting that you're talking about were to be held in someone's private office and not in a public building, wouldn't that look really bad?
If you're not a quorum, I don't think so. Because if you're not a quorum, you can go in anytime you want and sit down and talk to the sheriff or talk to any of their people. But a public building, if I'm not allowed to come into a public building, you have to shut the whole building down then to everybody. If I have a zoning question and you're in there having a private meeting, how am I supposed to come in and ask that question? I can't. So, you know, to me, if you're just a couple of you, then why aren't you having it somewhere and then, you know, bringing it up in discussion, which that meeting actually was brought up at the last county board meeting, and I appreciated that. But, you know, when you hear that there's these meetings going on, it isn't in view of the public. And the ARPA funds discussion was not in view of the public. So to sit there and say that you don't is not quite true.
You're misunderstanding 2 different scenarios here, Tricia. What I said was that committee members should not be having one-on-one conversations discussing how we are going to vote on something before we come here. The meeting that you are referring to was with the highway department and the sheriff's department and with our insurance agent, the loss control representative, and we were discussing claims of the county in which individuals' names were being discussed, and that's not public. That's not for your knowledge. And there was no quorum of any committee or of the board. And no, excuse me?
I said she didn't say there was.
But those meetings aren't open to the public, and they don't have to be. They're not subject to the Open Meetings Act. So if we are having and we are allowed to have private meetings, because there are times where confidential information is being discussed and the public cannot be a part of that. And it's not open to the entire board or any board member that just wants to show up. It's not. So that's the difference. We should not be having discussions amongst ourselves outside of this meeting, deciding what we're going to vote on when we get here. So when we get here, we just go, yep, nope. That meeting is entirely different.
Well, I think Ron Hyde made it clear that's exactly what was happening, that you were being told how to vote.
Ron Hyde was on a different board. This is an entirely different board than when Ron Hyde was on this board.
There's still some of the same people on it. You may not have been on that board. I think they tried to appoint you, but they didn't appoint you, if I remember correctly. But what I'm saying is that there's been a history because a man did stand up and say that there were meetings going on and that you were being told how to vote. And if you didn't vote that way, they were being shunned, threatened, and reprimanded. That is what was specifically said.
That didn't happen with this board.
I don't know that you
That's
can
not
answer
happening
that for
with this
everybody, Martha. I think you could answer that for yourself, but I don't think you have the right to answer that for everybody else.
Okay.
Public comment. Yes, sir.
I'm Darrell Best, I live next door here. And I've heard about this deal with the assistant state's attorney and that she's not in her office for a prolonged period of time, but yet has been getting paid for her job. And it's recurring. And I was wondering if the board, would check out her hours to see and explain to us what's going on.
I'm just gonna say with that matter, I would not feel comfortable, and I appreciate that everybody has questions, that you're more than entitled to have those questions. But if it were any other employee in this courthouse or for the county, I would not feel comfortable discussing what could potentially be personal reasons or any reason why they were or were not at work with, just as an open, now I'm not dissuading you from contacting that department head or anybody else to ask those questions. I'm just saying I would not feel comfortable talking about an individual employee in public.
So the situation's okay with you?
I'm not saying it's okay or it's not okay. I'm saying I don't think that it's my place to discuss personal or what could potentially be private information about an employee.
She's paid a whole bunch of money.
I am not at all stopping you from asking her, asking the treasurer what she was paid or her department head about what happened. I'm saying as a board member, I don't feel comfortable, I would not feel comfortable discussing any county employees' potentially personal or private information.
Do you
Good
remember?
way to dodge the question, Julie.
Well, I mean,
No,
sure,
that's not a
if anybody, any employee missed work for any reason, was or was not at work, was not or was in this building.
Are you really trying to save us taxpayers money? Honest
Okay,
question, guys. Honest
That's
question.
different than what you just said. I don't feel comfortable talking about any personal or private information about an employee. They're just, that's just not my place to do.
So if somebody in another office just decides they want to take 2 months and get paid, you guys just don't care about that either?
And you guys insinuated that somebody did, an employee did something wrong in a county board meeting. So, I mean, that's kind of why I was asking what your opinion was. Is it yes or
We're
no?
just referring you to the department head. If you have concerns about what's going on in that department, please go contact that department
I would
head.
hope,
It is
You
not,
put him there.
I would hope that you guys would be concerned
For
about
Christ's sake.
paying somebody for
You're-
not being here.
Just because we're not at open, discussing it in an open meeting does not mean we don't have.
Well, we
concerns.
asked you if you were
Cody said
concerned.
there's private information that
I'm
we are
sorry.
not at liberty to
Cody said
speak
he
about in
never
an
heard
open
that.
meeting.
So do you?
Would you want us talking about you?
What do you
No,
want to know?
no.
I had articles written about me, so I mean,
Oh,
my
welcome to the
information's
club.
out there for anyone to go read.
My paycheck is public information. My timesheet is public information. Why is hers?
I'm not having
Not.
this argument.
That's my question. I do have another question, though, if you were done, I'm sorry.
I don't even.
Is the camera on? Are we live streaming?
We're not live streaming. We had an issue with the YouTube. It is being recorded and it will be
I'm
uploaded.
live.
It's, she's got it.
There's a bunch of people
I
on
know,
here.
but I
Lot of
saw
people
the
watching.
camera and my friends aren't finding it on YouTube and I.
We had an issue with YouTube tonight, a technical difficulty, so it is not being live streamed. It is being recorded and it will be uploaded.
Okay, I'll tell them that. Thank you. Thank you.
Public comment. Public comment. Last call for public comment.
I'll just say, the reason I'm concerned about somebody being paid for time that they're not here is we feel like we're being like put under a microscope for our minutes that we're working. It feels insulting. I just had to say that. That's why I'm concerned about somebody making the amount of money that they do and not even being here, but I'm being looked at like I'm a criminal and I make a whole lot less than that. Just so you know.
Thank you.
Doesn't she have a time card for the picture when she comes here? Well, she's not here, so.
They did shut the camera off,
Yeah.
just FYI,
No, I meant
which I
the-
do appreciate.
Yes. And
Thank you very much.
we
She
use
doesn't have to check in like that? Why is that? I don't care who she is, if she's coming in here and all the other employees have to check in and have their faces, I've never worked anywhere I've had to have my face, but that wouldn't fly with me either. Because I'm not a criminal, I haven't done anything wrong, it's just a time card. But does she check in and out? And we just want to know, it's a lot of money. Our taxes went up, we want to know, is it to pay her? Or the other one? I don't know. 10%'s quite a bit. Quite a bit. And somebody's getting paid that doesn't come to work, it's not fair. I mean, you guys gotta figure stuff out. That's frustrating. These guys can't even get their time card things to work because somebody changed something and now they're frustrated. It's terrible. I've already lost a cop that went to paying for cheaper pay because he don't want to be here. It's an embarrassment to be in this county. It's sad.
I know she's salary and handling salary and everybody's salary is salary, whatever. Why can't they punch a clock?
That's what I said.
I mean, their paycheck won't change, but if you guys want to know how many hours they're putting in, make them punch a clock. They clock in, clock out. You'll know whether you're getting your money's worth or not. I mean, why should they be any different than anybody else? She takes 8 weeks off to go try some case in Northern Illinois, and she still got a paycheck from here. I mean, do you really know if she was off 8 weeks? Was she only off 6 weeks? Maybe she's only off 2 days. Punch a clock. You'll know how long she's been here, how many hours she works. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
Absolutely.
You know where you stand with it. Just an idea. You know if you're getting your money's worth or not. I'm pretty sure you're not, but that's neither here nor there.
Public comment. Public comment. Last call.
I'm just agreeing with Daryl and Elizabeth and a lot of these people here that there just seems to need to be some accountability to why this is happening with the hours. You know, Cody said he didn't even know, he never heard of it, that she wasn't in the office just a few minutes ago. So if you've heard of it now, then you should check into what is happening in that office. Why is she not there?
You're not wrong.
Thank you.
It has been mentioned at like the last one, probably 2 board meetings.
At least.
So for
at
somebody
least.
to not know that that's even been brought up is, I'm not 100% sure that that'd be accurate because it's been brought up
I
so
don't
much.
understand why people aren't paying attention on the board and asking. You know, I've heard that she's not there. Is that true?
I'll repeat, just because it's not discussed in an open meeting does not mean it has not been discussed.
Do you remember a few minutes ago when Martha said about that insurance meeting with the highway department, the sheriff, the loss control, et cetera, that there were names and information that were discussed, that needed to be discussed, but could not be discussed in an open public meeting?
Yes.
Same principle might apply.
So there's something hopefully going on in the background that we don't know about, and you are taking care of this problem.
Same principle might apply here.
When was your last executive
Because
session?
Cody said he didn't know anything about it. So if he's not involved in this discussion that you've been having with somebody about this problem.
So you're referring to it as a problem because you know what you know, and to you it's a problem. For those that have knowledge of what is going on, it's not a problem. If it were a problem, we would be addressing it. You only know what you know, but as Jeremy said, there are things that we are not at liberty to discuss. There are HIPAA violations, there's privacy issues, and we are not at liberty to discuss.
So then you do know why she was absent for 8 weeks.
And you're okay with it, you just said that. It's not a
Okay.
problem.
The executive, when was your last executive session, Mr. Williams?
Was it?
August, wasn't it?
It's the last one I can recall.
I believe it was around the ITT time, around August, correct?
I think so.
So there's been no executive session to discuss what's been going on here? None.
I mean, I don't think there's, I haven't been.
This is
part of
another
it.
one of the topics that is not gonna go away until somebody gives the taxpayers some answers on why our taxes went up 10%.
Because
And we're
of
paying it.
the taxes went up because of the assessment value of the property. That had not, we did not increase a levy. This board has not increased a levy.
So then where did all the money come from that we just jacked up the state's attorney's office to all the attorneys in there to pay them? Where'd that money come from to pay them then? Whose
I believe
whose
some of it was
pockets
ARPA.
that coming out of?
It was, some of those were ARPA, some of those were within the budget of the state's attorney's office. But this false narrative that the taxes have gone up because of actions of this board. When the assessor's office got caught up on the assessment of the property, that there's two ways to collect tax money. Through the assessment of your value of your property and your property taxes, and what the board levies that you also pay in your property taxes. So when the assessor went through and got caught up with the assessments, because some of them were behind, the office is overwhelmed. That is not a critique of the assessor. It's just that is such a technical job, and you have to be trained and certified to do assessing. You can't just hire someone off the street and send them out. They have to have immense training to do that, and it's very technical. So they do get behind. They did get behind in some of their assessing, and when that was caught up, unfortunately, it came with a big increase. The increase in the taxes, this 10%, was not a levied increase. The board, when we did the budget, I don't know that any, I don't think any levies were increased.
We're a VTEL county. We are dictated to by the state government what we can increase our levy per year. I think over the
I
last,
have a hard time believing that, considering my 100-year-old rental home went up over $1,000 a year.
It's insane.
And the houses around it are shitholes and they've done nothing to.
It's
so.
insane.
That
has nothing to do with the county.
Well, I'm talking about the tax assessors and the value of your property, and it's like,
it's crazy.
how does it go up over $1,000 a year when you?
that's a conversation for
Yeah,
Debbie.
that I can't answer because I don't know, Lena, I don't know the
Well,
details on how
when
to
you talk
assess a
to
property.
the people that you're talking about, it's because we're paying for the state's attorney. So it's
But
like,
that's not
who
true.
do you believe?
That's not true. The assessment, you have not even paid yet the assessment value of this increase. That won't be until the next 2024's property taxes.
Oh, I know, I owe it here in a couple months coming up.
So you have not even paid that money. Though the money that, for the state's attorney, agree or disagree, came from either ARPA or it was in the attorney's budget. When the previous state's attorney made her budget, and I believe 2022 for the 2023, she increased the budget, asked for more because she recognized a need for an additional attorney in that office. So there was money in the budget for an additional attorney.
But don't we have 3 in there now?
We have,
There's one asking for a second, but now we have 3?
I think, but she wanted.
4. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, she wanted 3. She wanted 3. Because obviously there's a need. There's definitely a need.
Would be a need if our people were here working, and you can agree to disagree with me on that. But if we had an actual full-time 1, 2, or 3 full-time attorneys here, we wouldn't need a 4th. It would save us taxpayers
And
money.
that may change when a new state's attorney comes in. But let's get back to the tax thing. I really like to clear that myth up because I see that happening. You can go back to our budget and there is not any levy increases. That's all we as a county board can control is the levy increases. And it was years ago, the taxpayers voted to make Shelby County a P-TEL county, which means we are limited in the amount we can raise our, what we levy. and I believe it's like less than 2% at a time. Like people talk about Effingham and Moultrie County. Those are not P-TEL counties. They can increase, that's the problem we've run into with increasing the deputy's wage. We would love to do it, but our hands are tied because we can't increase the levy to pay them because the taxpayers did not want us to be able to do that.
What is
Effingham County-
my tax, the money I pay on tax, what's it going to?
Well, if you look at your property tax statement, it'll tell you. It's broke down, you know, by category.
Because
So
our roads are crap. We got,
I'm just trying to explain to you
I know you
what
are,
that
Julie, and I
is.
appreciate that, but I'm like, I just try to make sense of it. It's such a hot topic in the county,
get it.
the
Well,
taxes,
it's
and
a
I know
hot
you know,
topic
you're on social
because-
media, you see it all just like the rest of us do. And you just can't get any clear answers, and it's
But I'm trying to
frustrating.
give you a clear answer.
I know.
It is a hot topic because it's misinformation. The 10% tax increase did not come from levies. It came from assessments. And I cannot tell you how to assess a property. And I don't want anybody calling the assessor's office complaining because she did not do anything wrong. It's just, they were able to get some assessments done and it came in a big, you know, like an avalanche. And then this came out that, oh, they've raised the taxes 10%. The board did not do that. It is not, none of the 22 people on the board voted to increase a levy to cause that.
I don't believe you did do that, because you all are paying taxes just like the rest of us
Yeah.
are. But something's gotta give, and if it means a cut in the state's attorney's office to save us some money, we gotta do what we can. Things
I
are
mean,
so
that'll be up
expensive
to,
right now.
that'll be up to Mrs. Woolery if she wants to take a cut in salary.
But you guys always pick on the state's attorney's office. It's not just the state's attorney's office. You have other departments in the county, and those don't dictate the property taxes. That's not what affects the property taxes, and that's what Julie's trying to explain. And as a P-TEL county, the state tells us what the maximum amount we can increase a levy is. And once we know collectively what that dollar amount is, that is a part of the budgetary process. Meetings with every single department, Brian's department, the highway department, you know, the clerks, circuit clerk, treasurer, everybody participates in regards to the budget for their department.
It's just frustrating that we take money from the deputies that do so much for our county. And we give money to the state's attorney that's done nothing for our county. It's absolutely frustrating as a taxpayer to sit back and watch our deputies go through that. The sheriff's office, the sheriff have to deal with it, lose deputies to keep our state's attorney's office happy. Like, it's wrong in so many ways, so many ways. And if you guys can't see that, you are in the wrong place on this board. Wrong place. You should be bending over backwards to keep our deputies. The people that keep you safe is what you should be doing.
You know, Belina, I shared an article with Teresa when she sent an email out to the full board, and we don't respond to the full board because that's an OMA violation. And I sent her an article that talks about not only, well, I think part of the headline of the article was that we are only going to be able, we being law enforcement departments, are only going to be able to steal employees from each other for so long because there is such a critical emergency of a shortage of law enforcement officers. And that's not just in Shelby County. That's not just in the state of Illinois. That is countrywide. So, you know, you and others keep criticizing this board for struggles that are being had for retention. Yeah. And I'll tell you point blank, at the end of the day, in Shelby County, we cannot attempt to compete on an hourly rate with some of the larger counties that have more money, or with the Department of Corrections or the Illinois State Police.
Then why are we paying our state's attorney's office the amount we are, and no other state's attorney's office, any counties around us, make near what we pay our state's attorney? But they pay their deputies a very fair wage to keep the deputies.
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, one of you guys correct me, please. The state's attorney's salary is set by the state, not by us. We don't set his
salary is, but the assistants
Yeah,
aren't.
and how many other state's attorney's office has 4 attorneys in it? In a smaller county like us, I should say. Go to the bigger counties, yes, maybe, probably more than 4. But here, have any of you ever went and asked any of the deputies that left why they left? Exactly, that's what I thought.
I have one more thing to say if I can. The meeting that Tricia brought up that was not open to the public, that I got told I couldn't come in, but I went in and sat down anyway. There was an employee over there that works in the zoning office, sat there and listened to the meeting.
And it's his office. He was kind enough, no, let me finish, please. He was kind enough to allow us to use his office. He asked me if I wanted him to leave. I said, Scott, you understand HIPAA and you understand privacy, correct? He said, yes, I do. And I said, we're not going to kick you out of your office from doing the work you need to do. I just appreciate it if what's said here stays here. As an EMA
It
director,
doesn't make it right.
Nope.
It doesn't make it
HIPAA's
right.
HIPAA.
Not with
Doesn't
HIPAA.
matter.
Julie, you know that.
I understand HIPAA.
So
Julie
he was
understands
hearing
HIPAA.
people's employees'
Yes.
personal
Yes,
medical information?
yes.
Then that's not right.
Well,
You can't do
HIPAA applies to healthcare agencies, it doesn't apply to the board.
But she used
Privacy.
HIPAA. She
okay,
was
privacy,
HIPAA,
okay.
so-
My bad, I screwed that up, didn't I? Privacy, privacy. And he, as the emergency management and a part of the county, him listening to what we were gonna be doing from a loss control perspective in the county was not out of line.
I truly don't know what was
But I
discussed at that
couldn't be
meeting, and I
there as
really
a
don't
board
care.
You weren't
I'm just-
invited. None of the other board members were invited to that meeting, Teresa. None.
But you tried to tell me it was a private meeting.
It was.
As a board member, I could
It was
sit
a
in on
private, it was a
any
private
meeting.
meeting, and you were not invited.
Let's
None
not-
of the other board members were invited.
Let's not argue. This is public comment. Public comment, going once. Going twice. You want to call Sold too? Sold. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. McCain makes the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second.
I second
No, I
it.
got it, I got the second. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for being here.
I hope I wasn't yelling when I was talking because I feel like I am because my ears are so plugged, I can't hear anything.
We have the microphone on the camera.
I don't know.
Shut the microphone on.
Well, just be careful. Working strong.